Hello everybody, Decentralized Dave here, and this is going to be kind of a market update. So this is going to be a longer video, more than 5 minutes. If you don't want to listen to it all, just skip to the end. I'm gonna timestamp my conclusion, then I'm just gonna do a summary. So the body of this video is gonna be kind of just like an explanation of my thoughts. So this is a market update, but I would like to share with you my most recent thoughts about the current markets. Also maybe give you a very brief update on my portfolio strategy. I don't think we're going to have a time to even have a look at this cycle, have a look at the summary of how my portfolio did, what I did correct, what I did wrong. Maybe we can do that in the next video. Yeah, so let's start. So the most recent situation, we are, I think last time I looked like 64,000 Bitcoin or something like that, which is a pretty nice bounce. And remember that this is also a weekly close, so like tomorrow we're gonna have a weekly close. And if it's gonna close like this, now by all means it seems like it's not gonna close below 60k. If it closes like this, then this wick down and immediate coming back up, like that's generally very bullish. Also, however, even in that case, I think that there's still going to be like maybe one more retest of the recent lows, but they probably won't even go lower. So it's probably going to be just a retest, maybe just a brief revisit below 60Ks. But that's just my very short-term thinking. However, I do continue to think that this sideways that we're having, also the altcoins liquidations that we had in April, this is all part of a shakedown of the too little convinced people, and just to make them sell, and also for the whales to control larger circulating supply, because this is how the whales operate. You have to understand the manipulation. Also, you should understand in the first place that how the crypto is manipulated overall today, and it's no longer organically driven market prices. Like at the same time, the whales always need an outside narrative, but it's them who pumps or dumps the prices pretty much. But they always use some kind of a narrative accompanied with that. And the way the whales operate is that in the first stage they try to accumulate as much of the circulating supply, not only to increase their profits, but also to just avoid more selling walls. Like when they will be pumping the prices, they just don't want to be too many selling walls in the way. So the more circulating supply they control, the more free way they have on the way up. And I think this is also what is happening at the moment. I think it's a preparation for actually the new all-time highs. Now when the new all-time highs will occur, it all depends how this, there are multiple scenarios, and it all depends on how this sideways is going to actually end. Because if we do come back below 60k, start closing, and especially weekly close below 60k, there are below where we were, there are very important moving averages. We actually bounced from 20 SMA weekly. Wow, that was a very, very bullish bounce, just a touch, and coming back up. But also that, like usually it tends to touch it more than once. Just one daily touch, but it's generally touches it more than once. So yeah, let's see. However, I do think that since we've heard too many times recently, sell the May and go away, I do think that the opposite is the more likely. So buy the May and stay. And we've just seen below 60k in May. So we could say that this sideways already has bottom in May already. And yeah, it's definitely a very interesting, and I'm getting more and more optimistic about even a short term in crypto. Also about the S&P, there was just a 6% correction. That was, I think, little. I mean, I really thought it was gonna be like 10%, but it might not be still over. But also on the other hand, if like too many market participants evaluated this as just a normal correction to reset the sentiment, which means that these corrections then don't tend to go as low as they would have otherwise. That would be probably my market updates. However, I would like to now continue talking about my portfolio, about my strategy. And first of all, on this very spot that I was there in the summer. Now it's not the summer, now it's the spring. But I was there in the summer 2023. I was here 1 year younger, right, than I am now. And I remember on this spot, I was telling you that it's below 10,000 Bitcoin next, and I'm exiting crypto. And that's what I've done in the last summer. And then we dumped, but only about like 20%. But of course, altcoins dumped more. So the altcoins were then very, very cheap. And I'm an altcoin guy. So I had then actually it was one of the best moves this cycle that I've done. And I was one of those that I'm the most proud of. But ever since this quarterly call, my following quarterly calls were substantially worse, which might also be logical, because after having beautiful calls, and also it was also a streak actually over calls, because also the November call when I went all in, very interesting. It was even not a call. I wasn't convinced it was the bottom, but I went all in anyway, and I gave you explanation in the video. But after this streak, it is also logical that I'm gonna have as well some wrong calls. So overall, this cycle, I'm still like reasonably satisfied with my own calls when I look at the whole cycle on a macro perspective. But my recent calls have been not nearly as good, and so of course that now I'm fingers crossed that I hope that my ego has been destroyed again and bottomed again. So I hope that now I'm ready for another amazing quarterly call. And because my last call was to actually have an alt season in the spring, and while I was waiting on the alt season fully all in, because I also didn't want to trade anymore quarterly before the cycle is over, and while I was waiting for it, what I actually got were altcoins liquidations. As you know, 12th and 13th of April, I believe, the whales used the narrative of the Iran strike on Israel, and instead of an alt season, I got minus 50% on many positions. So like, come on, like, yeah. And there is more I could actually, I talked about the weird, I called it weird alt season, what we had in February and March. I talked about it in the last video. I'm not gonna talk about it here. But yeah, it made me again reconsider that actually I was doing actually better. And also the macro perspective wise, when I'm looking at the traditional market, like the case of a recession, I know like they have to be recession fears if we want to have a wall of worry, right? And if we want to go up, we need wall of worry. If there is not wall of worry, then who is left to buy? Like the moment there is not wall of worry, everybody bought, right? Everybody is all in. So there is no. So the wall of worry is very important and even key to the very good market growth. So at the same time, it's very good to have the recession worries and the recession fears, but also they are also partly justified, and the recession will come. And I talked about it also the last year in October on the podcast with Magda Mesel and Curtis. Back then, it was very widely talked about the inverted yield curve. It's still inverted. And also maybe because it was so widely talked about, it stayed inverted, and it's inverted to this day. And while it is inverted, it's actually not an effective. And the hodlers, of course, were like laughing then, like, yeah, your inverted yield curve failed because nothing happened. We went to new all-time highs, and you were all saying recession. But what's actually that's not accurate at all, because the indicator is not about going into being inverted, but it's about coming out of the inversion, and that I also think is coming, and it can't be inverted forever. It's gonna come out. and it already broke the records for being the longest or one of the longest in the history. It's decades we haven't had an inversion this long. So like, just think about mathematically then what it means for the chances, like how the chances are exponentially increasing that we uninvert the yield curve. Now, what happens once we uninvert? Because we will uninvert by design, it's guaranteed. What happens then? And I was looking into this, and recessions, like some of the recessions that were kind of a black swan recession or unexpected recession, like the COVID, that were just very sudden, like the recession started and we just immediately dumped what we dumped. But there were quite few recessions that had kind of like a dump about half year before the actual dump started. And then we had a blow off top again, or then we had a real blow off top, but people thought that the blow off top already happened, because then we started dumping. But that was a fake crash. Then we had a real blow off top, and there everybody was like, oh my god, I sold too soon. And only then we got a real recession crash. I was also looking at it. I was looking at it with the relation to the yield curve, inversion and uninversion. Okay, and what I think that is likely here. I'm gonna have a look at it again because there is a MySpace coming with Curtis, Sonny, maybe Mark as well, and yeah, I hope to join too. And yeah, I will probably also talk about this. So I will have a look at it again to have even more accurate, to be speaking like months, maybe in my estimations. But what I think is likely, all things considered, that once we have the uninversion, we are going to see some kind of a fake crash, full of recession fears, and that crash might be deep. It's not gonna be 6% for sure. It's gonna be more. Not like this correction now. There might be recession fears there, and also kind of like a fake crash, and then we might have a actual blow off top that most of the participants will not see coming. Most of the participants then will think the recession crash already started, but actually they will then, they will be then proven wrong, and only then, actually also, with related to crypto, only then I think the crypto cycle will actually peak. Bottom line, and this is the conclusion that I will timestamp for you, also I'm expecting the inverted yield curve of the traditional markets, I'm expecting it to uninvert this year. The chances for that are increasing exponentially because the time for which it's been inverted is now record breaking. It's record breaking. So the chances are growing. I expect it to happen this year, but also statistically speaking, after the uninversion, the recession begins only about like a half year after that. However, the recession crash can start sooner, and that's why I expect that it's gonna be a couple of months after the uninversion where the real recession crash is going to start. However, as for the crypto, I expect that there is a likelihood that at the or around the yield curve uninversion, we are going to have some kind of a nasty correction, but it's going to be a correction where people will be convinced that we've just had a cycle blow off top. And after that, we're going to have an actual blow off top. What does this mean for me? And how am I going to now derive from this? So I am going to actually, yet again, focus on more on the quarterly trading. Actually, that's how I was doing it all the way until like February this year, like a few months ago. I'm going to focus again more on the quarterly trades, and protect myself, and distribute, just play with risks, like scale down the risks more. If I sell even at a quarterly top, even if it's going to be quarterly top, I'm gonna be focused on selling. So that would be the conclusion that I have drawn out of this. Now, where this quarterly top could occur, so it's definitely should occur after the previous all-time high of the total crypto market cap, which was 3 trillion. We have not yet broken it. The 3 trillion, we have not seen 3 trillion since 2021. So it should occur after 3 trillion. But also, I think that the quarterly top is not going to be that much higher than 3 trillion. So, I mean, not exponentially, not in multiples higher. So somewhere between 3 to 4 trillion. And yeah, that makes quite a difference, and especially for the altcoins. So that will be my next focus. So I will keep you updated, and have a good day.